A massive fire broke out near the airfield in Saratov, Russia, sparking a wave of confusion and speculation. Initial reports from Russian telegram channels and local media suggested that dry grass near the airfield had caught fire. However, some sources claim that oil fuel may have been burning, raising questions about the true extent and cause of the incident. Eyewitnesses cited by the Russian telegram channel Astra reported seeing flames and smoke in the vicinity of the airfield. While there were no confirmed reports of a Ukrainian drone attack in the area, some witnesses claim to have heard explosions shortly before the fire erupted. Official Russian outlets have so far downplayed the event, attributing it to accidental grass fires or a smoke incident involving fuel oil. Despite these claims, the situation bears similarities to other unexplained blazes that have occurred near sensitive military sites across Russia in recent months. The causes of the fire remain unclear. Speculation ranges from sabotage to simple negligence, with some observers noting that incidents like these highlight the vulnerabilities of critical infrastructure deep inside Russian territory. As Russia continues its military campaign, such mysterious fires near strategic locations have become increasingly common, fueling debates about internal security and the broader consequences of the ongoing war. The U.S. Space Force has detected the disconnection of an unknown object from a Russian satellite. This is reported by Space. The incident occurred on March 18, 2025, when the ground-based systems of the U.S. Space Force detected the disconnection of an unknown object from the Russian satellite Cosmos 2583, which is likely to be on a reconnaissance mission. On the eve of the disconnection, the satellite performed a maneuver together with two other vehicles, Cosmos 2581 and Cosmos 2582, whose role remains unknown. The satellites are in orbit at an altitude of about 600 kilometers and have attracted attention from the very beginning for their unconventional maneuvers and unknown purpose. Neither the Russian government nor the Russian Ministry of Defense has officially provided any information about these vehicles. All three satellites were launched into orbit on February 5, 2025, by a Soyuz 2.1V/Volga rocket, and immediately after launch began performing maneuvers that, according to experts, resemble combat flights or docking tests. On March 18th, the U.S. Space Force detected an unidentified object that detached from the satellite. This object could be a technological test aimed at evaluating new docking methods or technologies for interacting with other satellites, said astrophysicist and space expert Jonathan McDowell. He also added that the new object, which had detached from the satellite, has already been included in the catalog of the space objects of the U.S. Space Force. It should be noted that the Russian space program currently operates in complete secrecy. Some satellite launches are not even covered by the media. In addition, according to previous launches of Cosmos satellites with numbers from 2,575 to 2,580, they were later identified as military satellites. This suggests that the three satellites, 2581, 2582, and 2583, could also be used for reconnaissance or space testing for military purposes. China is also practicing satellite-to-satellite battles as part of a future space confrontation. Although the true purpose of such maneuvers is unclear, representatives of the Space Command suggest that China is preparing for a broad confrontation in space, amid the increasingly active development of space interceptor programs in different countries. Toretsk direction. Operators from Ukraine's 28th Mechanized Brigade, along with the Phoenix Regiment of Unmanned Systems and the 1004 Separate Protection and Maintenance Battalion, destroyed a Russian armored column attempting an assault. In the Toretsk direction, Ukrainian forces once again proved their effectiveness on the battlefield. Operators from the 28th Mechanized Brigade, together with the Phoenix Regiment of Unmanned Systems and the 1004th Separate Protection and Maintenance Battalion, successfully destroyed a Russian armored column attempting an assault. The attack was spotted early by reconnaissance drones, allowing Ukrainian forces to coordinate a rapid response. Precision strikes from unmanned systems and anti-armor teams disabled multiple Russian vehicles before they could reach Ukrainian lines. The failed assault forced the remaining Russian troops to retreat under heavy fire, leaving behind destroyed equipment on the battlefield. Ukraine's layered defense strategy, combining infantry, drones, and artillery, continues to inflict major losses on Russian forces attempting to advance in the Toretsk sector. The Russian army has begun to increasingly use old BRM-1K armored reconnaissance vehicles in assaults. The relevant analysis was made by Richard Werricker, author of the website Tracking Russia's Losses. Thus, according to his observations, the Russian army began to use BRM-1K vehicles more and more often, starting in the third quarter of 2024. The highest figure was the first quarter of 2025, during which the Russians lost about 2% of these vehicles compared to the total losses of infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers. At the same time, he notes that the losses of this model of vehicle, which was developed on the basis of an infantry fighting vehicle, account for 20% of all losses of vehicles based on BMP-1. The use of these vehicles in assaults is associated with heavy losses of specialized armored personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles by the Russian side, so the Russians are using specialized reconnaissance vehicles, converting them into vehicles for transporting personnel. The BRM-1K itself was produced between 1973 and 1988 and had similar gun armament, but instead of a landing compartment, the space was taken by reconnaissance equipment and radio stations. According to the analyst, about 3,500 units of vehicles based on the BRM-1 are currently in storage, so the number of losses will increase as the Russians search for means to transport attack aircraft. It should be noted that the Russians, due to the decreasing role of old-generation specialized reconnaissance vehicles on the battlefield, are modernizing them by installing a new combat module with a 30mm cannon. During the modernization, the old turret was replaced by a single combat compartment with a BBPU-1 turret equipped with night optics, a 30mm automatic 2A72 cannon, and a 7.62mm PKTM machine gun. This modernization should significantly increase the firepower of the vehicle against manpower and armored vehicles. Ukrainian vehicles are also being modernized in a similar scenario, both by installing a 30mm gun in the turret and in the form of BRM-1K hybrids with an artillery component from Nona-S.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.